Aloha mai kākou e nā hoa makamaka mai ka la hikia ka la kau. Aloha nui kākou. My name is Ka'iwi Puni Kuali'i. I'm the Native Hawaiian Affairs Specialist here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And this is a Kuali'i Council show on Native Hawaiian programs here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. One of the great things about the University of Hawaii at Manoa now is that it's committed to promoting a Hawaiian place of learning. And there are so many people and groups that have been really pushing this work forward over many years. And one of the groups that's the longest standing in this type of work has been Kuali'i Council. And so we want to celebrate all the things that Kuali'i Council has been able to advocate for and the partners that we've had over time through this show. Over the past several months, we've highlighted several programs so far. The first show we had the founder of Kuali'i Council, Dr. Lili Kalakame'elehiva, along with the administrator for the council, Kelly Igora, and they talked about the history and some of the things that helped Kuali'i Council get started. We also had Native Hawaiian Student Services and Napua No'eau talking about the pipeline for Native Hawaiian students from when they're babies all the way until they get into college. We had the Department of Native Hawaiian Health from the School of Medicine talk about all the amazing work they're doing in community and in research and to prepare professionals in the health fields. We've also had Kahuliao, the Native Hawaiian Law Center at the School of Law here, talking about the work they're doing with communities, the work they're doing to prepare lawyers, Native Hawaiian lawyers and other lawyers with a really strong understanding of Native Hawaiian law in Hawaii. And last month, we had Komakokua Kalani Center for Hawaiian Studies come and talk about their work preparing, especially undergraduates in the Hawaiian Studies major. Today, we are so excited to have with us another unit from within Hawaii Nui Akea School of Hawaiian Knowledge. So Komakokua is one of 4 units. We also have Kawaihuelani Center for Hawaiian Language, as well as Native Hawaiian Student Services. But today, we're going to focus on Kapapalo'i o Kānewai, which I think for people who are watching this show today, probably, I would say almost everybody watching has either been to the Loʻi or been touched by some aspect of what happens at the Loʻi, or know somebody who has. And so we're really excited to have you folks here today. I also want to recognize that Nalani Minton is usually the co-host of this show and also the co-founder, and she's unable to be with us today, but is really excited to have you folks on. So thank you for being here. I want to introduce our 2 guests today. First, we have Makahiapo Cashman, current director of Kapapalo'i o Kānewai, and right here next to me, Paul Nahua Lucas, founding member and president of Ho'okahewai Ho'oulu Aina, a group that helped to rediscover the Lo'i, and we'll learn more about that story today. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, mahalo.
Thank you for being here and taking out time out of what I know are 2 very busy schedules. So mahalo nui.
Yeah, thanks for including us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So Kapapalo'i o Kānewai is loved by so many people. I mean, really, we've had visitors from all around the world, come to visit the Lo'i. And so I would like to ask Uncle Makahiapo to begin by telling us a bit about the name, Kānewai, Kapapalo'i o Kānewai, what that story teaches us about that place.
Well, the story behind Kānewai is we go back to 2 of our akua, Kane and Kanaloa, and there's several stories, versions of the stories. We like to tell the story where the 2 of them come from Kahiki and they go to the Mo'okini Heiau and they spend time there and they receive different kuleana. Then they start to make their way back through the different islands to Oahu. And then they come up in the Waikiki area where Apua Heiau used to be, now it's the Moana Hotel.
Yeah.
And they come up there, and when they come out of the ocean, they want to rinse themselves with the salt water and sand and those kinds of things. And they start to make their way up to Mo'ili'ili looking for water. And as they come up, Kanaloa, they're considered brothers. And Kanaloa, being classic brother, is like harassing him, hurry up, let's find some water. I thought you had this special power. And Kane tells him, just be patient. And eventually they come to the Mo'ili'ili area, and Kane takes his o'o. We think Kane can hear the water. Yeah. That's one of our things that we found. He takes his o'o, made out of kamani wood, strikes the earth, strikes the ground, and a huge spring comes up. And from that spring is come to be known as Kānewai. Yeah. So I think a lot of these stories gives a good genealogy of the place, of the area. It helps us, for us, the chants and the mele and the mo'olelo tell us how to act in the place, how to behave, what the area is used for, the kuleana of the place as well too. So
historically, Kānewai was one of several parcels that existed within the ahupua'a of Waikiki.
Right.
And Waikiki ahupua'a, a lot of us think, well, maybe Manoa, Pololo are ahupua'a, but actually it was one huge ahupua'a. And the area that Kānewai is in is called Waikiki-uka. And there was a Waikiki Vaina, Waikiki Kai, similar to the place names that we have now in Kalihi, that also existed in Waikiki, but we no longer refer to those names. But as Makahiapo had pointed out, there were different lele, or non-contiguous parcels. So you had Helumoa, which was down by the ocean, which is where the Royal Hawaiian Center is now. But you also had Pahoa, you had Kānewai Waikiki, and then you had another lele in Kahala. It was called Kānewai Kahala.
Oh, interesting.
We've dropped the name Kānewai, and we just now refer to it as Kahala.
I haven't heard that story before.
And it's a fish pond there, and we talk story with them all the time and share stories and things like that. So yeah, we well aware of the Kānewai in Kahala area as well.
Interesting. So much to learn, yeah. And so when we think about Kānewai over time, we know that the kuleana of who takes care of that place, the konohiki and the alii of those places, change over time as well. Can you folks talk about that a little bit?
So originally, when we go back to the mahele, where we have people claiming lands, and one of the things we have to understand is that this area, Kānewai Waikiki, as it was known back then, is a very it consists of 27 acres of Loʻi, and so it's very highly prized by the alii, and we know that after the Battle of Nu'uanu, Kamehameha Ekahi gave this land to Ke'aumoku, one of his uncles and favorite chiefs, commander-in-chiefs. And this then makes its way to Ka'ahumanu, his daughter. And it's interesting because in this particular parcel, there are actually competing claims. One is by Victoria Ka'ahumanu, who is the daughter of Mataio Kekuanoa and Kina'u, and a person by the name of Kaleheana, also known as David Kaleheana. And he and John Papa'i'i, who filed the claim on behalf of David Kaleheana, and his uncle, John Papa'i'i's uncle, Papa'i'i, were all members of the Luluku family, and they were all personal attendants who cared for Kamehameha II, the third, and so they filed the claims, claiming, in the case of David Kaleheana, claiming that he received it from Papa'i'i, who was John Papa'i'i's uncle, who had received it from Ke'aumoku. On the other side, you had Victoria Kahumanu claiming that she received it because she was the goddaughter for Ka'ahumanu. And what happened was the Land Commission ended up awarding the title to Ka'ahumanu based on her claim as being the goddaughter of Ka'ahumanu, and gave a right to use and occupy to Kaleheana and then to his heirs. And eventually it makes its way down that finally by the time it gets conveyed, Victoria Ka'ahumanu dies without heirs. She gives it to her father, Mataio Kekuanoa. The claims with Kaleheana are settled. The land then goes from Kekuanoa to Kamehameha V, and then to Ruth Ke'elikolani, who then conveys it to upon her death to Pauahi, and it becomes part of the Kamehameha School's inventory.
Right. And so we know that during the time when it was Bishop Estate land, basically, right, we have lots of different kinds of families yeah, doing malama aina there and using the land to do different kinds of things. And I know down at the Loʻi, there's a picture of one house of one family, the Takushi family, is that correct?
Yes.
You can talk about a little bit about them and their story?
So after the in that particular parcel that we're in, we don't know of. We know that people had been there and had farmed it before the mahele. We really don't know their names. The closest person we have is a man. Is a native tenant by the name of Kuali'i, where that's really where the Kānewai Center for Hawaiian Studies building is right now, and they farm taro through an awai that we'll talk about later on. But after they pass on, like so many stories, the land use changes from taro to rice. Chinese immigrants move in. And they start cultivating rice. They just replace taro with rice, and then after that, we have Okinawan families like the Takushi families coming in and raising pigs and also using the land for taro and for taro tops, but also having truck crops in that area. So Kānewai and the surrounding areas become a really big productive area for truck crops.
Interesting. And so when does this land transfer over to the university as we know it today? How does that happen?
So in 1947, right after World War II, the university starts to institute proceedings to condemn about 75 acres. One of those parcels is a 15-acre parcel that consists of where Kapapalo'i o Kānewai is, along with the Center for Hawaiian Studies and the parking lot that's adjacent to that. And they condemn it for the expansion of the university.
Okay.
And that the condemnation doesn't finish till like 1953. But one of the agreements is that the Takushi family can remain on the property, can continue to farm. By then, after World War II, the zoning had changed where they could no longer raise pigs on the property, but they continued to farm luau, and other crops all the way up until pretty much the 70s. But they were given a right to stay there, provided they leave upon a month's notice from the university. We know that the university had long-term plans for campus housing because across the stream there's Wainani and Noilani and the towers and everything. So Freer Hall, and so this was just that was I think they had planned to expand that to the other side.
Interesting. I love the story and the genealogy, as you point out, of this aina, because I know that's something that, as we really move our entire university to becoming a Hawaiian place of learning, that idea of mo'okuauhau is something that we really try to instill across the university, and it's different. Yeah, it's a little bit different than history, because history, we don't always see the connections from one to the next. It's just like, oh, this story that unfolds somehow. But mahalo for sharing that story, because anybody who takes my classes on campus, faculty and staff, they know this term mo'okuauhau, and they continue to try to wrap their minds around it. And so the stories that we're able to tell that really show the agency of different folks over time, yeah, it's good for us to remember those stories, because there's kuleana that emerges as we know those mo'okuauhau. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So we get to the point in the story of Kānewai where the university now has the kuleana over that place, right? But there's not really anything happening. Yeah, the Takushi family has since left. And I remember as a little girl hearing the story about this place was all bushes. Yeah, just overgrown weeds. And so, Uncle Nahua, I was wondering, because I know you were there when this all goes down, right? If you would mind sharing about what happens, what changes?
So this was, just kind of a backdrop. The Hawaiian Renaissance was starting, had already started in the late 60s, early 70s, primarily in the area of music and dance. But we were still expanding as Hawaiians to discover who we truly were.
Sure.
And I think the next stage of that was to look at traditional customs and practices as it applied to the land. So there was all these land struggles that were going on at that time. We have Kalama Valley, Waihole Waikani, even Kaho'olawe was well on its way, and there was this whole sense about aloha aina. What does that mean? When you go back to the land, what are you really trying to do, and how do you do it? How do you survive? And we had met, a few of us had met Uncle Harry Kunihi Mitchell on the island of Kaho'olawe during a access in February of 1980. And we're really inspired because he really took an interest in young people. His son, Kimo Mitchell, as you know the story, son Kimo and George Helm went missing off of Kaho'olawe in protest of the bombing. And it was there that he really realized that young people are really serious about this. They really want to learn about the Aina. They really want to know about their culture. And so he dedicated his life pretty much to teaching young people. So we were inspired by him, and then the next opportunity came when we were just curious about our land area, about what goes on around the university. And we saw by the stream, we saw this area overgrown with California grass, and we said that, that's a lowland area. There's got to be a Loʻi around here. And just out of curiosity, in November of 1980, we went down and we just started walking around there. And we found our way underneath the Dole Street Bridge and started walking up, and we discovered this old, which looked like a ravine, but it was actually an auwai. It was the path of the old auwai that I guess has been dated back to the 14th century now. And so we started to open it up, and we started to bring down the water. And that's one of the reasons for our name is Ho'okahivai Ho'ulu'aina, which is to make the water flow so that you can make the land productive. So we brought the water down, and none of us knew how to farm taro. But we said, gee, we're getting down there pretty close. Another chance encounter, this is all through Akua, was that we went on a trip to Maui to meet Uncle, and this was part of the Hui Aloha Aina Tuahine sponsored trip. We were speaking Hawaiian. Uncle was meeting us, and we were all talking about it. And so there we reconnected, and we said, hey, we got this project. Would you like to help us? Now, Uncle has been how many generation taro farmer, and he farms taro commercially. And he said, of course I'll help you. So that's what started the relationship. When he came over, we eventually connected the auwai up to Kānewai. We cleared the land through the help of ethnic studies and other people that just found out about it from Hawaiian studies, and they started Hawaiian language, and they started coming down. Pulled back the California grass. Lo and behold, we discovered the remnants, faint outlines of the Loʻi that the Takushis have been using, and then started to plant taro, and the rest is history.
I love this very soft we that we use. Now, who were the we, and what were you folks doing around Kānewai and Manoa?
So we were all part of the Hawaiian. The Hui Aloha Aina Tuahine Hawaiian Language Club.
Okay.
That was the most organized. It had been organized for many years. You have all of the greats, Haunani Poliona, Aaron Mahi, Kawanoi Larry, Lindsay Kimura, and many others who had kind of started that movement at the university, and many of us were just kind of riding their coattails, but there was just this renewed interest in things Hawaiian, especially in Olelo Hawaii, and it just kind of naturally expanded to practicing it. And the key thing about it was Uncle for us was in a large part the inspiration, because he said in order for you to understand the language and the culture, you have to go and do it.
Absolutely.
And you have to be a practitioner and understand what that means. And so his famous line was, he used to say, you talk, but my stomach is still hungry. So you know what, don't talk about it, just go do it.
Absolutely.
And that's what we've been doing ever
And
since.
so you folks were 18, 19 years undergrad students at UH at this time?
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay. Now I love that story because it really, from the the beginning times of this revival, is young people.
Yes.
Yeah. And so sometimes today I think we look and go, oh, maybe it's not my time to do this, and like, no, go. Yeah. You're ready. And especially when you're called to the land, I think, as you folks were.
And I think people came to help, for different reasons.
Right.
They were inspired, by different things. And I think we always had, in the back of our mind that we hope that this would be continued, because a lot of times when you have student projects, they start and then they end very,
Absolutely.
As quickly as they started. And so we feel so fortunate, so blessed that this project has now developed into and become part of the University of Hawaii.
Absolutely. I have this slide here of an old article talking about you folks in Kuali'i, Hawaii. And I was reading it last night, and it's great. It's a really great piece of archival, history about Kānewai. And there's Uncle Harry, yeah? In the middle, with his hands on his hips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his pipe.
And his pipe. Yeah, checking him out. So, I mean, just, really beautiful about that. Thank you for that story. So eventually you folks start opening up the Loʻi. I have a couple pictures here. We have a picture of you here a few years ago.
Yes, a few years ago. That's very good.
These great old pictures of the Loʻi, but I mean, it looks like the Loʻi today. Yeah.
So we started opening up and getting the water flowing, started to plant, and with Uncle, a lot of his techniques was he was a commercial farmer. So some of these pictures you see the corm of the taro is just huge,
right.
And it was just incredible. So slowly but surely we opened those patches up, and that was from November of 1980 up until May of 1981. We basically had half of that area cleared, and then we decided to have a dedication ceremony and a blessing. So we had Uncle Kavika Ka'alakea, who's good friends with Uncle Harry. He came down, he did the blessing for us. So it really, and we had met Uncle Kavika in our previous trip when we went with Uncle Harry. So it was even more special.
Yeah.
And then we just had a little. We invited all the university officials down, as well as some of the community representatives that had helped, and as always, I can remember Mr. P. Anaya, who was then the head of the Hawaiian Studies program, saying, "Gee, Paul, this is great work what you're doing, but next time, just give me a heads up when when the newspaper calls me and wants to know what you guys are doing." And I said, "Don't worry, we'll be it," because that was always again that Uncle Harry, don't talk about it, just go do it. And a lot of times in our native ways of doing something, you just go do it and then you ask for forgiveness later on.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I've had done some interviews with Auntie Akela Kani'opio Crozier, and she says the same thing. You go do the work and you ask permission later. Yeah, because you gotta go do the thing that needs to be done, which is a little tricky in the university, right? It doesn't always jive, yeah. And so, which is really interesting, because then we get to this point where the Loʻi, is officially, becomes a part of the university. Is it with the hiring of the first coordinator? Is that how it kind of becomes this really interesting unit within this university system? Is that how that starts?
I think that was the first real commitment.
Okay.
There was always a sense of where is this going to go, and who is going to take care of this. And we had approached the city, because Kānewai Field is located right down the road. They were going to make a wilderness park using Manoa Stream as being the wilderness park, and they were going to somehow incorporate the Loʻi into that. And then the university was sort of interested, but it never really did get that full support until we had people like Kikuni Blaisdell, who was the interim director for the Center for Hawaiian Studies, Daviana McGregor, a lot of other people from other divisions or departments within the UH saying, we need to really lock in this wonderful project into the university. And so at that time, there was also plans for the Center for Hawaiian Studies, where it was going to be located, the building itself. And so, pretty soon they did form what we used to call the Loʻi committee. And it was kind of a combination of university people, hoʻokai waihoʻoluʻu aina, and started planning the actual, day when this area would be incorporated under the UH. And so finally it became the UH. The UH said, no, we're not going to give it back to this, or we're not going to give it to the city. We're going to take control and own it.
Which is another beautiful story about Kuleana, right? And the community coming forth and saying, no, let us be clear, and really helping the university. I think when we think about the university and as we study higher education and these imaginary walls that we put at the foot of the university, it's like, oh no, they're so permeable. We can do so much with community. I think it's a beautiful example of how that works really well, or can work really well.
And I think our approach the whole time was, with land struggles at the time, a lot of them were divisive. People were getting evicted. It was very emotional.
Right.
What we tried to do is we tried to temper that by saying, look at what a great place this is, and let's just start inviting people. And so what we didn't know is that as we started to invite people, and these were school groups, these were senior citizens groups, these were community groups, from all over, we were actually building a base of support.
Yeah.
And so that the community kind of rose up and sent all these letters to the UH officials and say, boy, this is a great project. Thank you so much for allowing us to go down there. And a lot of them would say, what is that? And that's what happened. Is really it was such a huge base of support that people could say, people, I guess, thought to themselves, how could you say no? Yeah.
Right. Awesome. And then, so we hire the first Loʻi coordinator, who is
Keone Fairbanks.
Okay.
And so he had after he graduated from the university, he went on to pursue his master's in urban planning.
Okay.
And so Keone was also one of the founding members, and he was basically carried that torch to the next level. He designed and eventually constructed a tool shed, which was recently replaced.
Yeah.
But he had done that. He had pressed the university officials to be more, to recognize him more. He had this wonderful relationship with facilities management, so
Smart.
that they would come to trim trees, to do things that we did not have the physical capability. And he stayed there up until Charlie Kupa came when Keone had to take a job on Maui. We were hiring for the I guess by that time the Center for Hawaiian Studies had become involved, and they were actually ready to pay for a half-time position. And Charlie Kupa applied, former Vietnam vet, and he was a journalism major, but he was also very much into ethnic studies at the time, and he was always down there. He knew about. That's one of the things we've been blessed is all of our Loʻi coordinators have on-the-job experience at Kapapalo'i o Kānewai. They know the area, they know what needs to be done, and then when they get hired, it's just a natural recognition of their leadership, over that area.
Growing leaders, not just kalo.
Yes.
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 Yeah, for sure. And then after Uncle Charlie, then we had
Pomaikai.
And I think he's the first.
Kaniopio Crozier.
Right, and is he the first full-time Loʻi coordinator? Yeah, and I think that might have been when Kuali'i started advocating for a position that would be full-time, permanent in that space, which was wonderful. I know I took his class under that time, which we'll talk about those classes in just a little bit. And then after Uncle Po, then we have
Wendell Kikai Perry
for a little while.
For a little while, and then now we have
And now we have
Makahiapo Cashman.
Right.
And what's interesting about you is you have a new title. So we used to have Loʻi coordinators for a very long time, and now you're the director of Kapapalo'i o Kānewai, which has a little bit of a different connotation when we talk about university business.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about why. Why does that change occur?
Well, in 2007 when we became a center within Hawaii Nui Akea, and even at that time, Po and I were already talking about, should we become our own center? Should we just stay under Hawaiian Studies? And we kind of came to the conclusion that no, I think we need to be a center, And when Hawaii Nui Akea was formed, being a center really changed stuff for us too. I think like one of the first things Paul was saying, that means more meetings, that means we're at the table, but that was the blessing in itself too, was that we're at the table now. We weren't outside and, looking and peeking in anymore.
Right.
We're at the table. Of course, we was real young and trying to figure out how to be a part of the university and trying to discover what our role was as a center in the university. So I think it was challenging, but at the same time, it was very rewarding. Yeah, very
Absolutely.
rewarding. So, yeah.
And now we see, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 4 units in Hawaii Nui Akea, all with directors. Kamakaku, Hawaiian Studies, Kawaihuelani, Hawaiian Language, Native Hawaiian Student Services, their own director, and Kapapa Loʻi o Kānewai with their own director. So we see how those 4 units, of course, work together in different ways for curriculum and other needs for the campus. But now you have your own unit. Talk about how many staff do you have under you now?
Well, right now I have 2 full-time. We're still looking for 1 more for the full-time. And then we have 2 half-times. And I think before it used to be a full-time, but we split it. And then one stayed with the Loʻi and the other one was with Hawaiian Language. And that's to kind of support classes that come to Kānewai.
Right.
So basically it's to support Kānewai. And I have several limahana as well too, which changes a lot, because they graduate and they move on.
Yeah,
and,
they're students.
Yeah, and they're students, yeah. So it's a small group because we also manage Punalu'u as well too. So it's all about managing the groups and people coming and, at the same time growing taro in people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's beautiful. I know we always see a group of students working at the Loʻi, and volunteering at the Loʻi, whether it's cutting grass, right? Learning how to use a weed whacker, it might be your first time. Pulling taro, giving tours. I know they've given tours to my group so much. And just being happy to find a place that feels like home, especially for the students from outer islands.
Right.
And it really becoming kind of a pu'uhonua, a place of refuge for them. So I know that's really exciting. You have your own, is it a fiscal officer that you have?
Yes, a fiscal officer, and then assistant coordinator as well too, and then the two half times.
So you're definitely busy.
Oh yeah, nonstop. 7 days a week.
Yes.
All kinds of hours. So again, it's just that management, moving people around, those kinds of things. And then at the same time, giving everybody a break too.
Right. Absolutely. But
students
I think,
have lives.
which is beautiful, right? When I hear your story of we weren't sure. This was back in the 70s. We wanted this to continue to now in 2016, a fully formed unit. We have employees actually get paid to do this and learn and connect. I can only imagine it must be a very fulfilling feeling to see that all continue.
To see it institutionalized. Our goal was always to have it be a learning laboratory for Hawaiian language, culture, but also College of Tropical Ag. Whoever had aspects of Hawaii that they were really unfamiliar with and wanted to learn, and then coming down there, it would be sort of like this cross-cultural learning that took place.
Absolutely.
And so just to see this getting formalized and to have it now within the university, I think everybody is everybody ho'okahewai holuaina is very very ecstatic and couldn't be happier.
No, and I think that's a great segue into really talking about all the things that happen at the Loʻi right today that are under your management. And so I was wondering I think one of the longest standing events that happen or programs is First Saturday, that folks from all over Oahu, from all over the other islands know about, right, and participate. And I was wondering if both of you or one of you can talk about what is First Saturday? How did it start? What's the whole point of this thing?
So I'll just talk about how it got started. So usually what we decided is after we would after we started to work down there, we thought, well, Saturdays is a good day, and and let's just make it in the morning time. You know, people commit till noon, and then they can go. You know, they have their afternoons free. And then we started to think about, well, if you know, usually what happens is the workers never left. They just like to sit around and hang out, talk story. So then we say, well, we got to feed them because that's Hawaiian. You gotta feed them, and basically to thank them. So we used to run around and get food, or some of us used to make food for them, and then after a while we just thought, you know, let's consolidate this and let's just make it the first Saturday to really say, you know, this is a time for everybody to come down, and if we just have it on the first Saturday, you know, people will know about it. It'll become established, and then people can say, oh, you know, I can't make it on this day, but I know I can do the first Saturday because you'll always have somebody there to work, and so that's kind of how it. And it's just like everything else, it's just blossomed.
Yeah. For, you know, when I started to come on as you know, volunteering as a student, and then becoming the director, part of it was realizing the incredible foundation that was set for us by Kānewai, by the different kupuna, and one of those was First Saturday. I consider First Saturday kind of the cornerstone of the place, where it got the community involved, it got the university involved, and it really, you know, when I first started, you could really see like, oh, we need a First Saturday real quick, you know, because we need to do all these things. And then when the people would come, it would really like push us way ahead. You know, it's like just getting a good wind behind your sail and just taking you, you know, and that's what First Saturdays are for us. You know, we're really fortunate because there was you know, you trying to set this course, and you trying to make it something people can depend on, that different kumu in the university can grab. Because a lot of them are trying to connect as well too, and helping their students, because they're in the classroom and they realize that, okay, I need to get my kids out. You know, I need to get my kids to some place, and Kānewai has been that place. And just making it consistent, you know, like, you know, we'll go every first Saturday. Maybe we don't do January because nobody's around, including my staff. So, you know, no matter what, rain or shine, hurricane, whatever it is, we're gonna try and not try. We are gonna be there to receive people and work with people, talk story, you know.
And
so.
it's grown, you know, exponentially from just, you know, us, you know, going off to buy food and bringing it back to, we have imu, and we have, you know, we harvest the kalo and we cook it there, and then we have people pounding, you know, poi. So it's just gone beyond our wildest expectations. It's really learning about how to, you know, ai kamahaoka aina, you know, eating the amazing sustenance of the land. So
Absolutely.
You know, we average, you know, about 150 to 200, and sometimes it can go up to 300. You know, so the challenge is to feed everybody. You know, how we're going to get everybody fed and happy, and you know, but we've had different sponsors that come in, like the SAPFB, which is when the students pay their tuition, $25 goes into this kitty, and we kind of tapped into that. So that really helped us feed the people. It helped, you know, getting different sponsors here and there, and you know, but again, it's trying to get the students, and it's not only First Saturday, but we have a First Friday as well too, which is all the prep of the food and the imu and those kinds of things, and inviting classes to be part of that as well too, whether it be an olelo class or an architect class, you know. So it gives them that chance to if they cannot make Saturday, you know, and again, making it real consistent so teachers can send their students.
Right.
Yeah.
I know I remember being an undergrad and being really actually nervous to go to the Loʻi because I didn't grow up planting taro, and I was kind of embarrassed about, oh my gosh, I don't know, what kind of Hawaiian am I, you know? But I remember we had to go for one of my classes for First Saturday, so I was like, well, I wanted my A in my class, so I was gonna go to the Loʻi even if I was ashamed. But everybody was so olu, you know, and it's okay, you don't know how to put it. Mary, we're gonna teach you how, you know, or we're gonna go carry rocks today, or you're gonna go pick up leaves out of the awai and go hehi in the Loʻi. And I always love that, you know, we're gonna find something for everybody to do. And from little babies to the kupuna. Yeah, anybody who wanted to come. And I remember that was my kind of first very careful steps into the Loʻi, feeling like, well, maybe I can be useful even if I didn't grow up as a farmer. And so I know that's definitely been the gateway for so many folks. And also for folks who are curious about the university, but not really sure it's a place for them. But if there's a Loʻi at the university, then maybe that we can work with that, you know. And so also being a real bridge for folks into higher education.
Yeah.
So,
a bridge to the community, you know, and for us too, it's always keeping the door open.
Yes.
You know, so even if you cannot come to our first Saturday, there's still other ways you can come to the Loʻi and participate, you know. And then from there, you know, a lot of people, like teachers from the community, like high schools, will say, oh, can we walk around Hawaiian Studies after that?
Yes.
Can we walk around campus after that?
Right.
Oh, yeah, you know, so we'll try to connect them with different people as well too, you know, and always keeping that door open for them. Yeah, and again, being olu and you know, there's a reason why they're coming to the Loʻi. So, you know, it's I think that's part of my kuleana is to figure out why they're here and try to help them.
Yeah, and fostering that in the students who work for you. I know over time, you know, you see the hardest working students work at the Loʻi, I think. And you know, when you need someone to help anywhere else, they're the first ones there because they learn so early on about the importance of laulima. Of many hands working together and how important it is to show up. So no, and it's great that it continues. I know,
and again, it's that foundation that was left for us. You know, we still, you know, the three guiding principles is laulima, pu'uhonua, and malama aina. You know, so even when I was tasked as being a director, it was really important to keep that same principles and things that Nahuarem were that established. And till today, we still follow it to the T. I haven't changed the word. You know?
Absolutely. And we feel it and we see it in the many generations to continue to come. So in addition to First Saturdays, because that's not the only thing you folks do, I know there's courses that are taught. I took them, again, just in a very academic way. Think, oh, I can enter a class. And I was wondering if you could have a slide that shows a little bit about the two courses, but if you could talk about the classes that you folks teach down there.
Well, currently I teach the 351 and the 352, the Papa Mahiai Kalo class. And it's a introductory course on tarot. I basically trying to teach them as much about the genealogy, about the place, about the water. A lot of people don't realize that they come to the Loʻi, they think they're just going to do tarot things, but they don't realize the importance of the water there. So we do a lot of water things as well too. And I try to go through the gamut, all the way from haloa, all the way from pulling, preparing it, cooking it, cleaning it, serving it, how to eat it, you know, as much as we can. And then two projects that really kicks their butts is the pohaku and the board, you know, making their papa kui'ai and their papa, you know, that really is a big one for the class, you know. So we take them to like the Bishop Museum, we go in the back and look at all the collections and see what's happening there, kind of get them excited about their about their projects, and then they can attack their projects too. You know, we just started recently working with the College of Ed as well too. So I started teaching what they have is a Aloha Aina cohort. This past one was Kamehameha Schools teachers, elementary teachers. So they go through their rigor of classes, and one of the classes is taught at Kānewai as well too. And then we use Punalu'u as one as a site, and it's to build their curriculum using all their different courses as well too. And the plan was to not just create the curriculum just to pass the class, but actually to incorporate it in the classes. So now we have KS, kindergarten to like 6th grade, coming regularly to Punalu'u as well too. You know, and it's a chance for the teachers as well to get their advanced degree as well, to their masters, you know. So we're kind of looking to do more stuff like that too, you know. So
You've been talking about Punalu'u, so I think it's a good time to actually say, what are you doing with Punalu'u if you work at Kānewai?
Right. So, you know, maybe we've been there a little over 10 years now. When Po Maika'i was the director, he approached me, said, we have this opportunity to go out there. What you think? And when we first went out there, it was like, I don't want to be somebody's gardener. We don't really have a long-term lease or anything like that. But, we came to realize that, it was almost a philosophy where if you build it, they'll come, just like Kānewai. So we said, okay, let's do it. Even though we only had a 2-year kind of lease, we said, let's do it. And it's been really successful. We have lots of groups going there, just as much as Kānewai. So that's the challenge for me is, a lot of my students are in class. It's like, oh my gosh, we have a group of 100, but it's a bigger area. It's 3 acres, whereas Kānewai is a little over an acre.
Okay.
And, but it gives us an opportunity to work with large groups, like say 100 to 150, So a lot of times, like on Friday, we have YL immersion coming. So they're bringing their whole kindergarten to 6th grade there. But if we have a few staff, we can break them into groups and rotate them and give them different experiences out there as well to talk about the mo'olelo and the stories and get them wet and dirty and, so it gives us, we're really fortunate to be out there. Yeah.
That's amazing. It's such a great opportunity for folks to go to another place, right?
Right.
Out in Ko'olaulua as opposed to being in Kona. But that's a lot of work for one small team.
Yeah. And again, it's balancing the team, because they're so busy with school and their students. That's the problem with students. They're students. So, and we want them to do well too.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of them are Hawaiian Studies students or NREN kind of students. So they're really interested in this kind of work, and it's a chance for them to kind of come in, look around, see what's available, kind of talk to the different people that are visiting and kind of connect with people and build a real strong foundation. And that's kind of our hope is that when students come to Kānewai, they grow as much as they can. They have an opportunity to find their voice and talk and be in front of people and try things. And then the hope is they go home and they do the same kinds of things in their community.
Absolutely, right. I mean, it's such a great foundation for science majors, for education students, for just community leaders, and to be becoming parents. And you see the generations of folks that have come through now that do that exact thing, and they take all of this from the Loʻi in so many ways. So it's good to be busy when you're young, because then you just soak it all up. It's a good time.
Being productive in their community.
Absolutely. So we were talking about Kānewai, and I know that over time there have been different kinds of structures there. And I know that's something that for lots of people when they see the different hale, especially the traditional, it's something that they've never seen before. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. I'm going to look for the slide that actually has here it is, a picture of when you were first constructing the halau down there. And can you talk about what is that, why in that space is this structure there?
Well, as the groups were getting larger and it was getting more developed, there was always a discussion about, consistent with what Uncle says about you need to learn everything. It was, well, the next thing you have to do is have a hale over here, so people can meet and for many different reasons. So we started to do that, and we got a lot of our wood from here. It wasn't native wood. It was at that time. I think it was ironwood, but we tried to get. We try to replicate as much as possible. So Uncle would come down. He would. I think the purlins were made out of coffee, and we brought all those over. The pili we got was from Maui, and we had it shipped over in a Young Brothers crate, and I remember going down there, picking it up and stacking it up on my truck and driving it down there, and then just he would continue to come, and every Saturday, and sometimes he'd stay longer, and if people were there and they wanted to learn, he would show everybody how to do it, and eventually it. Like all things, it got old, and it was, I think the wood was rotten, and so we ended up taking it down, and now we have a new one, You know, that's all. That's again, and Makaiopa can talk about the new one, but that's all part of life. You know, representing the life cycle. The kalo gets harvested, it gets planted again. The halipili goes, or the halau gets old, you replace it. But it's not something that remains. Stagnant. It's always.
That's also
growing,
an opportunity for people to learn how to do it who didn't know the word around the first time.
You know, and that was done so well that you almost skip generations, because they don't get that chance to do it, and just like the one we have now, you kind of skip a couple generations, and you can tell that those generations are like, oh, we want to build hale, we really want that ike, so, after we took down that hale, the first hale, and, before Charlie left us, he made Paul promise, to build another hale. That's really important. So we put up that hale, same thing. I think it was all mangrove, the purlings, the pili grass came from the Big Island as well too, and you could really see those students really take to the place, to the hale, really take ownership of the place as well too, At least that was my observation, and you can still see them real close to the place still today, which is really, important for me, having them close, having Ho'okahewai close. And to me, the hale is one thing I learned, that if you keep bringing people and sharing the hale, bringing people into the hale, have them sit down, your hale will last longer. That's my belief anyway. It feels like it's included. It's a big part of the place. So, and that just shows a lot of the ike that our kupuna had at that time as well too.
Yeah.
And our students just love doing those kind of big projects.
I remember I was an undergraduate when folks went to go gather pili on Hawaii Island. I didn't go on that trip, but a lot of my friends did. And I remember, and still to this day, like when they're here at Manoa, that's home. That hale is home, and they're very, very pili to that place. And so, I think it's a beautiful part. You're not just learning how to harvest and plant taro, you're learning about water, you're learning about hale, you're learning about gathering, engineering, all of these things that are involved that you get to learn. I mean, basically the perfect classroom at Kānewai. I mean, we also have a new structure there. You want to talk maybe just a little bit about that structure?
In our 2010, 2016 plan that we did, one of the identifying things was, we needed to replace the structure that was there before. And I kind of miss it, to be honest with you, I miss it. I'm already looking at maybe we can build something like that over there someplace, But, we applied with the help of Kekai Perry. Yeah, he was very instrumental with helping us get the HUD grant. He was a PI on the grant, and he did really well doing it and seeing it through. And we ran into so many obstacles getting it, but now that we have it, it's such a blessing. We're still learning how to use it, which is cool, and we use it for all kinds of things, for meetings, for workshops, classes, whatever we can think of. Movie night, food prep, movie nights, drink ava, whatever we can think of. That's what we wanted the place to be. We didn't want it to define this was the kitchen, and this was this. Just wanted to kind of keep it open. And we named, it's the Kapapaloio Kānewai Resource Center. The Lanai area, we know it as the Ho'okahewai Ho'olu'aina Lanai. And then the enclosed area is the Harry Kunihi Mitchell Room. So we wanted to honor that group, the groups that helped establish the place. Which was really nice, because when we actually dedicated the place, a lot of them came back.
No, it's such a great place to celebrate the growth of that area, in terms of the way it's fed community over time, and the way that it's you're right, it's so multifunctional. I know it's one of my favorite spots.
Cool.
We just have a few minutes left, and I have 2 last questions for each of you. So as we celebrate the work that you folks have done, looking back but also looking forward, what is one lesson that each of you have learned while being a part of Kapapalo'i o Kānewai? And then maybe what is one hope you have for the future of Kānewai in our last 2 minutes?
So the lesson that I learned is true to what Uncle Harry says: don't talk about it, just go do it. And I think that that's consistent with, you know, if you want to learn about the culture and the language, you need to exercise it. That's the focus of it. You need to practice it. And to hear Makahiapo and all of our Loʻi coordinators prior to that, just what he embodies is just the thought, because that is so important, just to think about, not so much about a building here or you know, Loʻi there and doing activity, but it's just, this is a living, breathing thing that needs to continue on, and that thought is going to be passed down to the students and the staff. So it's the mentality about continuing to practice it in whatever you have, whatever form, because that's who identifies who we are.
Yeah.
And I want to see it continue. That's my hope.
Thank you.
Yeah. Same thing. You know, I think aloha comes out for me, you know, having that aloha for people, for the place, for them learning, you know, I think that's really important. And to see it continue, you know, not only at Kānewai, but within the whole Hawaii.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Thank you both so much. We're out of time. There's a slide here for folks who are interested and have questions. You can email kānewai@hawaii.edu or call. Mahalo nui for being here today.
Yes, thank you for including
Mahalo nui.
us. Yeah.
Kuiho.
Mahalo.
Make it aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.